right, step one is this thing actually launching. Step two of any live stream is making sure your audio is actually working. So I'm going to sit back here for a second, make sure people can hear me, make sure this thing is actually running, and we'll see. We'll see if I can continue talking, because today got a little bit of a presentation for you. It's a little bit short, but mostly I plan on talking about tariffs, how it's going to affect microcaps, or any other questions you have on that issue. Seems to be working. Anybody else hear me? Pretty sure I can hear me anyway. Isn't that a picture right there? Donald Trump, no tariffs on Canada today at least. And this is something that we need to talk about. So I haven't had a live stream for about a month. It's been a little while. I know I've been spending a lot of time over Christmas there. I made 4 videos introducing about 20 stocks to investors heading into the new year, and that took up a lot of my time, as well as I'm focused a lot on my Patreon and building a website. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and it's good to be back doing a live stream for you publicly. Great. Everybody can hear me. Pretty sure I can hear me. 15 people, a few other people strolling in slowly, so I might as well get this out of the way before more people show up. And that's, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor. What I discuss on this channel is not financial advice. And I'm one of the few people that actually mean this. I say this all the time. I don't know you. I don't know your personal financial situation. I don't know your experience level. I don't know your risk tolerance. I don't know anything about you. What we're doing in these videos is talking about microcap stocks. I like teaching people how to invest a little bit when I can, at least showing how I invest. Hopefully it helps new investors kind of get over the hump of, losing money in microcap stocks. And for experienced investors, I just like having a good group of people to bounce ideas off of and have communication. So not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is a solicitation to buy, sell, or hold a stock. At least in the beginning, anyway. This is not even going to be talking about any stocks, because we got some other stuff to talk about anyway. I mean, what's the point about talking about 1 or 2 individual stocks, especially for a channel that covers a lot of Canadian stocks? Although that's arguable. A lot of the stocks that I cover are headquartered in Canada due to tax reasons, or because they want the finances from the TSX Venture Exchange. We do a lot of financings in Canada. It's a good place for a lot of small companies to get money on the capital markets. A lot of the companies that I cover actually operate in the United States. So I have gone through with some of the people in my Discord, and we were looking at some of the stocks that would be impacted by tariffs and would not be impacted by tariffs. But at the end of the day, if Trump was going to impose 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, it might not matter. Exposure to tariffs or no exposure to tariffs, this would have been potentially, disruptive enough to the Canadian markets that, exposure or not, it probably would have caused a stock to crash. What I'd like to say is I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the followers. I released this post here. I had a poll on X with I think I got about 2,600 followers on X right now. Thank you very much. And I released this poll basically saying, what did you do to prepare for Monday's tariffs, with the expectations that tariffs were potentially going to come in? And I can't say, congratulations enough, with 2/3 of the people basically saying, I'm a long-only investor in microcap stocks. That means to me that you're looking at the financial fundamentals of a stock. You're putting in the time, you're putting in the research, you're really looking at a company. You like it enough to say, you know what? Tariffs or no tariffs, I'm going to hold this stock for maybe the next 18, 24 months, and then I'll reevaluate. And you're just going to hold through tariffs. I think that's fantastic. When I first started in this space 2.5, 3 years ago on YouTube, on social media, when I got this started, I would say probably 80-90% of the people that were watching my channel were kind of looking more for a day trade or a swing trade. And now it's amazing how many people are looking to be long-term investors of some of these microcap stocks. I think this would have been a wise decision too. I did a little bit of this cashing up to buy the dip. There wasn't a dip today, right? There wasn't any tariffs imposed. A few people sold some tariff exposure and a few people moved to crypto. Considering the meme coins, Trump and Melania, I mean, it's frustrating sometimes. not just packing up shop and opening up a crypto meme coin trading account. And I mean, we need to talk about this a lot because, you know, you don't want people to get trapped. I always talk about having a stop loss. And this is why. This is important, right? This little chart here, essentially, if a stock loses 1%, it only needs to gain 1% for you to get that money back and break even. If a stock loses 5%, you only need to gain 5% to break even. It starts getting some separation at around a loss of 10%. You need 11% gain to break even. Once you get into 20%, all of a sudden you start to see a little bit of a spread here. So people always ask me, you know, where do you have your stop loss at? It's really a personal decision based on how much, you know, risk tolerance you have, how much research you have into a stock. But definitely when you start looking at, you know, negative 30%, you need to get a 43% gain just to break even from that stock. That's a consideration. So, I mean, if tariffs were going to hit today and we were going to get a loss on some of these stocks that was significant in somewhere in these amounts, I mean, that's pretty terrifying because when a stock drops 40%, and this is where I always say, never fall in love with a stock. Never just hold it down, 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 down. Always at least consider a stop loss. When you get into these types of numbers, a stock is down 50%. You need 100% gains just to break even, right? So we were talking about this last week. I think I had a video in my Patreon Discord talking about when to take profits. And one of the things we were talking about, putting some ideas together, putting it in a list. And with tariffs coming, one of the rules that I always support is when you look at that chart, you know, the thought of being down 50% and then you need 100% gains just to break even. One of the things I always say is I prefer people hold on to microcap stocks. I personally hold on to microcap stocks, but you also need to follow the rules in my mind. And if you're confused, you don't know why a stock is going up, going down, if you have anxiety, if you're worried, if you're losing sleep at night because you're worried about tariffs and, you know, it's costing you sleep, it's costing you your health, then, I mean, why not take some profits and get some cash and wait and see what happens with tariffs as well? Usually that happens when you have too much money invested in a stock when you're terrified. If you can't handle a 20 or 30% or 40% loss for 4, 5, 6 months, and that's causing you to lose sleep at night, then, you know, I'd always say follow the rules. Our mental health is more important than making money. So that's one thing I always talk about when I talk about taking profits. But tariffs, what's going on with tariffs these days? So yesterday, about 24 hours ago from recording this video, it was in the news by smaller sources, not large sources, but it seemed to indicate that tariffs were a go. I mean, everybody was talking about how an executive order was supposed to get signed Tuesday. 25% tariffs were definitely a go. And there's definitely a lot of fear, I would say. Sunday evening, roughly, is when this news was coming out. Then this morning, all of a sudden, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times started talking about, no, that's probably not going to happen. So what they're talking about in the United States is directing federal agencies to study trade policies, but it does stop short of imposing new tariffs on the first day in office. You notice this is good negotiation because it's not saying they're not going to, they're just not going to today. That's basically all that's been committed to, is that today, the first day in office, there's not going to be any tariffs, right? So you'd think this would be huge news and everybody would be happy. There would be something to celebrate, except this just came out a little while ago. Little video here. Small Cap Steve was, I think, the one that broke it. He's the first one who I saw it from anyway. Donald Trump on tariffs. We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada. We'll do it February 1st. Yeah, we're talking, that's not a long ways away from now, February 1st, right? So that's absolutely concerning that tariffs are not going away. Now, it depends whether or not this is just one more negotiating tactic or not, right? I would suggest there's a chance it's a negotiating tactic, if you ask me, but you never know. Just checking my sound again. Let's see if I can go listen to it. I just wanted to try something different.
we're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
25% on both, sir?
Sir,
On each.
On each, yes.
this is an
And that seemed to work. So there's Donald Trump right there talking about tariffs on February 1st. Now, amazingly enough, considering that tariffs were not on the table today, I did expect more volatility than this. So I know the US markets were closed today. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day today. Markets were closed in the United States. At the same time, I figured that an announcement of no tariffs would see a lot more green on the today percentages than what you're seeing, and it didn't happen. So that one surprised me. I expected a no tariff announcement would cause more green, and now we're saying that potentially there's tariffs on February 1st. So kind of disappointing that, we didn't see significant increases on this news. I mean, we saw a 7% gain in Zoom. I'm not sure that Zoom really has any exposure to tariffs. I mean, I think they have some exposure. Maybe this gain is due to Trump bringing back TikTok because one of their largest client, Shein, advertises on TikTok, right? So maybe that's the 7% gain. One of the stocks that we thought would have significant exposure to tariffs was Steel, ADF Group. It's a nice, healthy 6.5% gain, but I will say I'm a little bit disappointed. I was hoping that with an announcement of no tariffs that this would have been 10, 12, 15% in the green today, and it really wasn't. And you can see what's happening here. These are my videos, right? So if you go back and look at the 4 videos that I made, a lot of this is just my lists, my top microcap stocks video, my top nanocap stocks video, top high growth stocks video, top underdog stocks video. I actually changed the name of that to Misfits. One of the things you'll notice, look at the red year to date. It has not been a good year so far for Canadian microcaps, right? A lot of volatility, a lot of up and down 2%, down 5%, down 7%, not very good. It's interesting that some of the higher growth stocks are having a little bit better returns this year, as well as some of the misfits and some of the stocks on my potential list. Now, I've got a few of these stocks X'd out because I'm not sure if people are aware, but typically I have my videos already prepared. I have my next 6 YouTube videos already planned out what stocks I'm going to cover. I don't necessarily know what order I'm going to put them in, right? But I do have all that research in my Patreon Discord. I'm just not going to post it here just to give you some guessing work on what kind of stocks these are. Though I will give you a little bit of hint right here, because this isn't on Enwave Corporation, is not on any of my other videos here. But it is interesting that a lot of the more potential stocks, a lot of the higher risk stocks, smaller market caps, a little more speculative, are seeing a lot more green than some of the more stable fundamental companies like, Covalon down 2.6%. Really good company there. Earnings were a little down, but overall they're going to have a good year. McCoy Global, stunningly good balance sheet, right? Down 7%. Selling into this drill baby drill, and it's down 7% on the year. So we are having somewhat of a challenging 2025 year to date. Didn't he put tariffs on steel last term? Feels like he will do it again. He has much more incentive this time. Yeah, he did last time. It's about, I think, 6 months or so. We had a steel tariff, and ADF Group actually got through it pretty well, and then that's when they decided to go into robotics. The robotics for ADF Group will make them a little bit easier to weather the tariffs this time, but it would still be bad. I'm more afraid of Canada bending the knee than the tariffs themselves. We've already bent the knee at this point, I think. I hate to say it, but Donald Trump's threats have really exposed Canadian weakness right now, political weakness, internal liberal fighting and provincial fighting from province to province with, most of Canada basically saying, forget Alberta. It's been pretty nasty. So I mean, there's been a lot of exposure here and a lot of weakness. And of course, that's why we're looking at a weak year so far this year. We haven't had the bull run yet that we're normally used to. We didn't get the Santa Claus rally. We haven't had a bull run in January. Normally at this time of year, tax loss selling is already finished. Tax loss, tax gain selling is already finished. Everybody's got their portfolio balanced out. Everybody's got some cash to spend. And normally in January, we see especially stocks on the TSX Venture, get a little boost. This is supposed to be our bull run for microcap stocks. We really haven't seen that yet. But the hope moving forward is, well, we'll see. I mean, we've got another D-Day deadline here with February 1st, but in theory, keep in mind, the reason I'm having this live stream, and it's kind of loose and probably a little bit short, is talking about tariffs, is that there's no earnings to talk about. None of the stocks that I really care about have released earnings. We're stuck between the very long pause between the Q3 earnings season and the full year 2024 and Q4 earnings. So that takes a little bit of time. A lot of these companies are going to report in about March or April. Right. So we're in a very slow time, late January. We've got to make it through February. In March, things will start picking up. But still, it would be nice to see a little bit more of a bullish market before we get into the full year earnings. Kevin O'Leary is a fraud and hope he never shows his face around Canada. What a joke that guy is. Well, I won't say that if he does spend, what is it? How many billions of dollars is he supposed to spend now on this AI infrastructure project up in the Peace River of Alberta? That's a lot of money. If he builds that thing, he will be an absolute hero. And it'll make sense because Canada's cold. AI data infrastructure needs cooling. Why not do it in Canada? But we need to have a political appetite for that, right? Some stocks, even though it's a boring season right now, there's not a lot of earnings. I do appreciate some companies are trying to keep people excited a little bit, keep a few eyeballs on their stock. Really impressed at how NTG Clarity has held about $1.50, $1.60 Canadian share price recently. It wasn't that long ago during the tax loss selling that, after their financing, they were at $1.06, $1.07, $1.08 Canadian. And everybody was thinking that's their support. If they fall through their support, this one could go lower. It's recovered up to about $1.50, $1.60 Canadian, and they're trying to get more eyeballs on them again. Talking about something big is coming. Now, that's pretty big for a company that already produced what? How much revenue growth this year? How much earnings growth this year? Basically increasing top line by 100%. So for a company that just grew revenues 100% year over year to say something big is coming, I'm pretty happy about that. As well as one thing that's interesting, if you go on LinkedIn and looked at NTG Clarity Networks, significant job ads out there. They're hiring and hiring and hiring and hiring and hiring. So hopefully, hopefully you put A and B together, and NTG Clarity Networks has a pretty good 2025. But if they can hold $1.50 or so Canadian share price going into whatever this big thing is, and then going into their full year earnings and their outlook for the next year, I think that would be a pretty significant win for NTG Clarity Network shareholders as well. And look, this is one of my favorite stocks right now, McCoy Global. Drill, baby, drill. The United States just declared an energy crisis. They want more drilling. They want more oil independence. They want more oil to ship to Europe and Japan and South Korea and everywhere else. High risk company still, right? They've got their product, the Smart TR suite of products that they're putting out now, which is supposed to reduce manpower, save time, and save costs for drilling, because it auto changes the casings, right? And I'm speaking with management, I hope tomorrow. We've been trying to speak for a while. I hope to speak with them tomorrow. All my notes from that will be placed in the Patreon Discord, right? But this company has been growing revenue. I think they had a couple years ago, $32 million. They went up to about $52 million. Now they're up in the $60 million range, and they're releasing a new product. We've got open market buying, right? Just recently, in 2024. So this is pretty good. It's buying at 224, 229. You got insider buying, you got a new product coming out, you've got a company that's been doing well. Typically what you see is a bull run like this where share price ran up pretty good. And then what happened to McCoy, and this was about $4. McCoy Global was at about $4. They had a weak earnings. Remember, both McCoy Global and Enterprise Group had a weak earnings because the oil and gas industry basically took the summer off due to forest fire season, is what we were told. That really crashed the share price. It has never really recovered. It basically consolidated for a while. We've seen a recent dip all the way down to about $2.50, I think, recently. Right now, it's holding about $2.62 or something like that. But go take a look. If you are listening to what's going on in the United States and are looking for a bit of a Trump trade stock, you might need to have patience. Yes, they need to execute on their Smart TR product. We still need to see if it gets product market fit and people start buying this thing. But I think this is potentially a pretty good stock. ADF Group, I don't know how many times I've talked about this. How's this for a low valuation? That's one of the things I've been doing for some of these stocks just to get a better visual representation of how I invest. And I wouldn't normally think that a company like ADF Group with their quality, that their high range might be a 7 times EV over EBITDA, but that's where we're at. They're significantly below that. In fact, they're below a 5 times EV over EBITDA. Basically, though, I mean, I don't know how many times looking as a value investor, which seems a little silly these days with meme coins going up so significantly. But when I try to model out basically where a share price should be, and you're looking at ADF Group with pretty reasonable valuations, 5x to 7x EV over to EBITDA takes you to a share price of around $15 to $20. And then you look today where it's at. We did have that nice little, 6.5% bump right today with the US markets closed and, everybody asleep and low volume and everything else. Still not nearly where this company in theory should be given the quality of the company. So this is a fascinating one to watch. I know it's painful for shareholders, especially for anybody who bought anywhere in here or even anywhere in here, right? It's been a long, slow grind all the way down, but fascinating company to watch. It should rebound quickly if there's no tariffs, but like any good negotiator, Trump isn't taking the tariff threat off the table. So I doubt that DRX gets a massive bump. Probably celebrating a little too soon here for me, basically saying, with ADF Group, if there's no tariffs anymore, then what's the next thing that we can worry about? And really, there wouldn't be much if it wasn't for the tariffs here. Kraken Robotics and an off-topic question. I'll get to those in a minute. Just about done my presentation. Looking at a couple of stocks, not necessarily beat up, but I want to start highlighting some of the stocks that I've covered in the past, just so they don't get forgotten, because sometimes I do. Especially some of the videos and some of the companies that really get less views. I swear I should run a fund, basically, if I take all my videos and I pick the ones with just the least amount of views in a given month. Sometimes those are the stocks that perform the best because they're really boring stocks that nobody wants to buy, but typically they have really good fundamentals. And one of these was Aurora Spine and Pain. I mean, congratulations to shareholders. It's not a runaway winner, and that's probably a little hard for you to see, but basically, I made this video 6 months ago. Aurora Spine and Pain is up. I think it's about 62% in the past 6 months. So that's a pretty nice win. Obviously, it's been slow like everything else lately going into 2025, but they had a pretty nice bump up here after this video. So I was pretty happy about that. Of course, increasing revenue and an inflection point in net income. They went from a net loss of $248,000 to a net income. So you combine a tiny little microcap stock growing 21%, products finally starting to get a market fit with some of the people looking to buy it. Now they're getting a net income, 0 EPS instead of losing on EPS, and that's a significant win. So congratulations to Aurora Spine and Pain. Make sure you go check that one out. One of the less successful ones, and keep in mind, whole point to my channel, I never try to pretend to really be a stock picker, right? I go through probably 500 companies a year, go through their earnings, research them. Out of those 500, I'll present on YouTube 50 to 60 stocks. Not saying those are going to be the best stocks. Not saying they're all going to go up, right? It's just these are the ones that pass the Cameron test, and I think they're the best 50 to 60 stocks out of 500, right? That doesn't mean they're all going to be winners. And I always hate when people accuse me of like pumping stocks or just showing the good ones. Like, Cameron, all you do is talk about the winners and not the losers. Bullshit. I always talk about these losing stocks. Diagnose Inc., adk.v. I made this video a year ago on them. Forget everything I said about low videos being good stocks. This video did not get a lot of views. It was not a good stock. In the past year, it's gone up 1%, or in the past 6 months, it's gone up 1%. Pretty significantly flat, though a little bit up and down. One of the reasons it's on my shit list now is they engaged a promoter. So tiny little microcap stock, paying for not investor relations, but paying for a promoter does not make me happy. Do I need to be more clear on this? Sometimes I feel like I do. What is my opinion on promoting stocks? What's the difference between a promoter and an investor relation firm? I mean, one of the things I want to make clear is like good companies, if they truly believe that, their company provides value, potentially it's undervalued, they want to get the share price up, then a microcap stock, a good microcap stock will hire a legitimate and credible IR firm, right? These IR firms connect the company with intelligent, larger shareholders. They'll take a real detailed deep dive into the company. And if these larger investors like what they see, they can move your share price higher with large buying and even capital market support sometime, right? So good company, hire good, credible IR firm. Sometimes they cost a lot of money, but you know what? If you're a good company, you got the cash to do it, and you can get connected with some large investors that'll really support your company. This is really what we want to see. Sometimes we don't always get that. We're looking at microcap stocks, nanocap stocks, tiny market cap, just hitting an inflection point. They don't have a ton of cash, right? That's fine. A lot of these smaller, less known companies, right? They'll still hire smaller IR firms out there. You don't have to hire the largest, most expensive one. There are great, credible, small IR firms out there. They'll market stocks, maybe not to totally institutional investors. They'll market to smaller investors, right? They'll call up good, well-known retail investors that still have followers, or they have a decent amount of money, or they have people that watch what they do. They will market to smaller retail investors, right? Now, why this is still better than the promoter, even though it's a smaller IR firm, is still these IR firms have a reputation, right? You generally need to provide some value for the IR firm to show its network of clients, or they lose credibility. So for a smaller company, you can't just always pump speculation stock. Some of these smaller IR firms will have some smaller companies that are a bit speculative, right? It helps keep their business going. But at the end of the day, as much as we do as retail investors, they want good quality companies that will hire them for many, many years, that will have success, and everybody makes money, right? So not all the companies in a small internal IR firm will have that, but I mean, you get to see that a lot. A good example of this year is Enterprise Group. Enterprise Group was connecting this year with a lot of smaller investors, a lot of retail investors, call after call after call, individually or in groups, and it worked. I mean, Enterprise Group has gone from 40 cents to I think about $2.30 today, right? But once you get into these paid promotions, don't have a P on that one, paid promotions with any media group, you're openly admitting your company has more bad shit to find than a pig's ass in the spring. You're terrified to have large legitimate investors look at your audited earnings. That's the main thing, right? That's why you're using a paid promoter. You don't want anybody to actually look at your earnings. Don't look at the numbers. Don't do a Wolf of Oakville deep dive on the balance sheet, right? They do not, absolutely do not want that if you're using a paid promoter. Basically, these stocks are just marketing to the Robinhood meme stock crowd, hoping that you like the story and you FOMO buy, right? So for me, this is really understanding the difference between I know people see different press releases, news releases, maybe hiring a good IR firm versus hiring another IR firm, versus why I get so upset when I see these paid promotions. So that's it. That's all I have right now. Questions, concerns, comments. Let's see what we got. I don't know if this works. Yeah, it does work. Let's see here. I'm done. So if that's all you wanted to see was my presentation, thank you very much. Have a nice day. If you're on your way out because you just wanted to see my presentation, do not forget, I do have a new website, www.commonsenseinvesting.ca. Just have some patience. Just got it built. Really excited about it. But I really want to just try to attract more new investors so new investors don't get sucked into these paid promotion pump and dumps, right? And, having a website instead of a YouTube channel does create a little bit more legitimacy. So hopefully I attract a few more new investors. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with that. Also, don't forget, one of the things that I direct people to in my website is trying to push them my way, right? Join the Patreon Discord. Right now, there's still memberships available for, I think it's $5.85 USD per month. I think that's pretty cheap. I've been looking at Substacks out there ranging from $10 to $30 a month. And right now I'm going for about $5.85. One thing I'll say about my Patreon Discord is it's not like a Substack in that I don't really pick stocks. I research stocks. We look at stocks. We talk about stocks. Really what I'm trying to do in there is have a communication platform where people can talk stocks. It's safe. It's not an anonymous comment board where there's all kinds of shit. I moderate it personally. I contribute to it personally. So it's really more of a message board. I don't want anybody thinking that this is simply a place where you go and I pitch stocks to you. That does not happen. Everybody's researching stocks in there, talking stocks, the good and the bad. The other thing you'll notice and you'll see from me if you join my Discord, Patreon, and you get Y sheets. I use Y sheets because one of the things I found the full-time investors doing with microcap stocks was building spreadsheets. And it was really tough for your average retail investor to find the time to build a spreadsheet all the time. For each individual stock, it was a pain in the ass, took a lot of time, a lot of manual typing and labor. So I've actually started using Y sheets and partnered with Y sheets about 6 months ago. And I've been building my own dashboards where basically you plug in formulas, you copy and paste, you build a dashboard, and then I can share that dashboard with anybody else who has Y sheets. So you will see that on my website. And that's the other thing I'm working on. Right now, I have one dashboard and one pretty good spreadsheet built that tracks all the stocks that I cover. And that's where I'm at right now with that. So that hopefully that explains a little bit what's on my website and what I'm trying to do. So now I'm done. Now I got time for questions and answers. Let's see here. What did I miss? Kevin O'Leary. High tide earnings. Yeah, well, they're coming out soon. I don't know what you're asking me here. They should be out. When are they out? January 29th, aren't they? They're not out right now. You're making me feel like I missed high tide earnings. I better go check. I mean, what am I looking for right now from high tide earnings? Improvement. I want to see, what is it here? High tide to announce fourth quarter and full fiscal year 2024 results. Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. So good memory on me, January 29th. I'd like to see the website producing. I'd like to see some online sales producing. I know I like their brick and mortar, and that's their bread and butter. And because of that, I like High Tide. They're growing. They're had that wonderful acquisition to move into Germany. I thought that acquisition was brilliant from them because they basically purchased, I believe it was 51% of that German company with the option to purchase the other 49% if they want in the future. So they spend less now. If it doesn't work out, they can pull out without losing as much money. If it does work out, they've got the option to move 100% into Germany. I really like that acquisition they made. As far as their finances, just continued improvement. We want to see some margin expansion. I really want to see website sales and some of the online sales do a little bit better. Westbridge Renewable Energy Corp. Have I ever heard of that? No, I don't. I think I have. I think I've actually looked at it a couple times, but Westbridge Renewable, let's see if I remember it. Web.v. Generally, I'm not big into green energy, if that's what this is. What is Westbridge? Westbridge engages in the acquisition and development of solar, projects in Canada. Almost no interest. I've looked at this before. Isn't this the company with the CEO, Mike, that came from Solar Alliance Energy? I'd have to look into that. Check that for me. But Westbridge Renewable Energy Corp, if my memory serves me correctly, I like Solar Alliance Energy. I thought it was a pretty good company. Mike Miles, I believe, is the CEO's name. And look, I'm not saying anything bad about Mike. I spoke with Mike a couple times. He was the CEO of Solar Alliance Energy. He's now moved over to Westbridge. Right now, it's just too new for me. Too new for me. New CEO coming from Solar Alliance. Solar Alliance Energy's share price has gone from 6 cents when I started covering it down to about 2.5 cents. So they haven't had a lot of success. And the CEO picked up and moved to another company. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to take that, right? Not really proven for me yet. So they really need to prove themselves. Will Kraken Robotics be affected because of the sales to the U.S. military? Not sure if tariffs would apply. Yeah, you know what? Nobody's really talked about this. I don't know. I would expect that the tariffs would apply to Kraken Robotics as well. Whether there would be some exemption in there, I don't know. And look, I think if we look at the tariff situation as a whole, and if I was a betting man, and I think what the stock market is also looking at, we're probably going to see niche tariffs on specific industries moving forward. Right? I know Trump again is talking about 25% everything on February 1st. You know, are they really going to 25% oil and gas, energy, supplies for their military? They just declared a national energy crisis. Does that make sense? It doesn't really make sense. I mean, February 1st or sometimes after that, would I expect to see 25% tariffs or 15 or 10% tariffs on specific products? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be on everything? No. And look, Kraken Robotics share price has not been going down. Institutional investors haven't been selling it. Large shareholders haven't been selling it. So I don't know that anybody is sitting there that has more information than I do about Kraken Robotics saying, I need to sell this thing because of tariffs, right? So, and Kraken Robotics is firmly in the hands of institutional investors now. They don't really talk to retail. So if I want an answer to a question, I almost, with Kraken Robotics, say, what are institutions doing? Because they're the ones with information. So yeah, Cal Nano came out with earnings. This is pretty good earnings, right? Look, California Nanotechnologies, good company. I like Cal Nano, right? I think we can't forget though that the expectation with California Nanotechnologies is small growing company spending a lot of money to try to grow. They moved to a much larger facility. They just moved to a much larger facility that's now been surrounded by wildfires for, a couple weeks, emergency crews, road shutdowns, all those risks associated with that. I hope everybody's okay. I hope all of their workers are okay. I'm not going to call them and ask. I don't think that would be very professional. But California Nanotechnologies and OmniLight Industries, which are two stocks that I cover on my channel, are basically right in the middle of the LA fires. As I was checking on them every day, as far as I could tell, they have not been affected at all by the fires, but hopefully their staff and their workers are okay. They came out with earnings. The earnings were great, except they're having that volatility, especially on the bottom line. They had the growing top line, but they have bottom line volatility because of their expenses, their expenditures over the next year. They're waiting for the next big contract. But they're going to have challenges. I think 2025 is going to be a difficult year for California Nanotechnologies, but this is another stock that if you like it, you're going to like it for the next 2 years, and you're not really worried too much about the next 12 months because they do need to spend money now. They bought sales, they hired more salespeople, they trained salespeople. All that costs money. Everything they're doing right now costs money. So it's really hard to look at their earnings and just look at the top line revenue. It's growing. Bottom line isn't as good this quarter. We'll catch you next quarter, right? Next quarter might be better. Still a good company. It really gets down to what you value it, right? It's trading at around 4.5, 5 times sales right now, which is a lot better than where it was at. When it was at like 18 times sales, it was a no-go for me. Would you consider posting those types of valuation charts on the Patreon Discord? I like the visuals. Yeah, I've been trying to do that. If you're talking about the one on like ADF Group, I've been trying to do that more, but it's hard because ADF Group is actually undervalued. So it's really easy for a stock like ADF Group to plaster a valuation range right on their chart, because I think they're trading at about half what they should be trading at, right? Maybe less than half. It's harder with a growing microcap stock because some of these stocks, it's trading at $6. I think it should be at $12. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me to plot a visual that's way the heck up here and the share price is way down here. It looks a little crazy, but I'll consider posting more. Just ask me if there's a stock in there that you want to see a chart for. Just ask me. Right? That's what I do in there all the time. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm rusty. It's been a month since my last public live stream. Anyway, I've been having weekly Patreon live streams, but not publicly. Have you ever talked about Canada-based Standard Lithium, SLI? Just read about them and the numbers look good with zero debt, but still risky as a lithium play. Nope, I haven't looked at them. I try to stick to my niches and I try to avoid the hype. Lithium was hyped up so huge, I stayed away from it. Right now, what I'm looking for is energy alternatives, and I'm not talking like or energy parallel energy stocks. Basically, it's hard to talk about it, but basically, when you get back to the old days, who made money? I know this is a cliche, everybody's heard this one, but who made money during the gold rush, right? It wasn't the people that were actually mining for gold. It was the people that sold the shovels and the picks and the services around the gold rush, right? Typically right now, what I'm looking for is actually some of these energy adjacent companies that are somehow selling or improving the energy industry. AI is coming. Everybody's invested in AI. I would love to find more stocks that are going to benefit adjacent to AI. And for me, I think that's energy infrastructure. Enterprise Group is a big one with, they're providing their energy, what is it? EPP systems, Evolution Power Product Systems, where they could provide remote energy to construction products. Enterprise Group, McCoy Global, Source Energy is a really good one. SLHE, I think it's the ticker is called. They're providing frac sand. I'm looking for some of these energy alternates right now. I haven't looked at lithium. I've had no interest in that at all. Okay, MFA, I bought this with a book value of $18.42 to pay a 35-cent dividend each quarter to close at 10.10 cents. Shares are undervalued. Never heard of it. And I don't really do too many dividend stocks, sorry. I imagine the 6.5% on ADF Group is gone as per opening bell. Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing, Sometimes you just can't win. ADF Group, no tariffs. Celebrate. Party time, right? You get 6.5%. All the days of ADF Group going down and down and down and down for months. We get one day up 6.5%, probably wiped out tomorrow. We'll see, though. I do wonder, if people are thinking that tariffs are really coming or not. And at the end of the day, ADF Group released some contracts. Listen, with ADF Group, if there truly are no tariffs, which we don't know for sure whether there are or not, but you think about the currency, $1.40 Canadian to $1 US, right? You think how cheap that the ADF Group products would be to American consumers, the clients that would purchase that are looking at what ADF provides, there's no way they can get that cheaper in the United States right now, not with the currency exchange from a Canadian company, right? So if there's no tariffs on ADF Group, there has to be customers in the United States just absolutely sitting there with their mouth watering, looking to contract ADF Group. That's the way I see it. But the tariffs are holding people back. And if Donald Trump is going to just threaten tariffs all year, all through 2025, which is a possibility, let's be honest, then, I mean, you could see ADF Group just continue to be cheap for the whole bloody year, right? Any word on Current Water Technologies? I haven't had word on that company in 18 years, right? Nothing that ever seems to move the needle. I don't even know what they're at anymore. I don't watch them very much. It's fascinating that for me, see, they're back to 3 cents. I think I started covering them at 5 cents 3 years ago. Now they're at 3 cents, right? This is where I say it's tough. Not, don't fall in love with a company. They're actually up 20% today. So they were at 2.5 cents to start the morning. They'll have all sorts of news. This is one of those companies that's hard because as a retail investor, the saying is that we have a superpower with microcap and nanocap stocks. And the reason we do is because institutions can't buy these stocks. They're too small, not enough liquidity. And so us as retail investors can spend the time, do the work, and invest in these smaller companies before institutions can. And then if our research is correct, the company continues to improve. Larger investors can start to buy, institutional investors can start to buy, and in theory, we all make money, right? That's how it works. That's what we're doing. That only works as a retail investor, as a small retail investor, is if the company gives us the information to make those decisions, to do that research, to put in the work, to look at a company and say it's undervalued, it's growing at this rate. In 2 or 3 years, it's going to get discovered and it's going to take off, and I'm willing to hold. If a company doesn't give us that information, we're just guessing. I hate to say it, but if we don't get that communication, if we don't build trust with a company, if we're not getting the details that we need to make decisions, then we might as well be investing in meme coins, right? Because we're speculating. And that's been my problem with Current Water Technologies. They have all these NDAs with companies. I don't know why. They can't tell us what's going on. And so investors, shareholders sit here and wait while the stock drops and drops and drops and drops. I prefer companies that communicate. Hopefully they're honest with their communication. That's harder to do sometimes. Some companies aren't. But I mean, I'll take communication over no communication. Let's see here. Also, more info on Roof might be coming out soon. That's good. They just released their construction update that looked kind of boring, right? It'd be nice to get a little bit more information. This is a hit or miss stock. Only, look, I'm still catching shit for this one. Only pre-revenue stock I've really covered on this channel. And they do make a little bit of revenue from their pilot facility in Vancouver. But my gosh, I never thought that covering just one pre-revenue stock was going to cause me so grief. Yes, highly speculative. The difference between this pre-revenue stock with Roof, North Star Clean Technologies, and other pre-revenue stocks is this company doesn't have no stupid 5-year time horizon with milestones that don't mean anything, right? You're not going to have to sit here and wait for 5 years to them to finally sell a product to somebody, hopefully, and maybe they actually earn their market cap. This company, they basically got this year. They're supposed to have that first facility in Calgary built sometime this summer. We should see at least 1 quarter, hopefully 2 quarters of earnings as they ramp that facility up. In the next 12 months, we should know if North Star is a banger or a bust, right? I'm not going to sit here and wait 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years for a pre-revenue stock. I'll give them 12 months. And I hope they have good news in the next 12 months, right? Trump said something I think he doesn't like with AI companies. I didn't hear that. I heard him say that he called the national energy crisis because he wants to double the U.S.'s energy output to support AI. He said AI is coming. We don't have the energy to support it. We need to double our production of energy. That's what I heard anyway, but you could miss something, that's for sure. I don't remember it all. I know valuations are hard to predict and you can't control the market, but I still love the visuals. It's such a quick way to see your opinion. Look, you need it. You need to do this. You need to do this. I say this all the time. So I shouldn't say, oh, I lost my graph, but I'll pull it up. And I'm going to go on a rant. I'll go on a rant. What's my rant going to be about? My rant's going to be about visuals. Once I find my visual for ADF group, where did I move it? There we go. Let's go to this presentation. Let's kick this off. If you don't have a plan in microcap stocks, like if you don't have a plan, you're going to lose in my mind. Like everything, and I've discussed this before, is I feel sometimes like my children. I don't know if anybody else had kids when they were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. Their favorite word was why. Why? My daughter would just point at stuff. Why? This is what I feel like sometimes investing, because people will pitch me a stock saying it's going to be the next winner. Why? Like, oh, it's going to go up in share price. Why? Oh, it's going to go down in share price. Why? Like every time we make a decision when we're investing, we should be able to explain the why. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people are just guessing. It's amazing to me. Somebody will pitch me a stock. I ask them why it's going to be a banger, and they don't really know. They just give me the fluff piece that the company is telling. Making a plan is how you're going to be consistently winning in microcap stocks. Now, you're not going to always be right. You just have to be brave enough to make a plan. And, looking at this for ADF Group, this plan essentially allows me to, make decisions. Because if I think it's undervalued, even though share price is going down, I might still be buying ADF Group because my plan is for the move back up here, right? Now, eventually I might be wrong. I might give up. Maybe my research was wrong. Maybe it's time to stop loss out of a stock, right? I go back to look at my plan. What was my strategy? What went wrong? And then I reevaluate and correct. But essentially, you can't consistently win at microcap stocks if you don't have a plan. I compare it to poker all the time, right? Like, we've all been there where we sit down to a game of poker and we have that buddy who shows up who's never played poker before, goes all in on every other hand. He doesn't even know what the hands are, and he wins, right? And you're pissed off and, you want to quit poker. You're tired of this shit. But you know what? You come back the next week, you got your men's night every week, and he never wins another night, right? Without having that plan, it's just loss after loss after loss. And the people that consistently win at poker are the ones that have the plan. They're not going to win every time, but they have a plan. They stick to the plan, and they'll eventually, it's about playing the odds. So yes, I think people need to have valuations, need to think about valuation. It's not all about valuating a stock. There's also momentum, technicals, other things we need to factor into it. But I do encourage people to have a plan. Do I think ADF is cheap enough for a private buyout? I think people would be crazy to not be looking at that. Absolutely. I don't know how they get shareholder approval, but don't ask me what the share structure is off the top of my head. I don't know if management or insiders have most of the voting shares or not. Couldn't tell you right now. But I know, most shareholders would never approve it, because if you're buying or you're holding right now as a shareholder and you're looking at ADF Group, I think a lot of people are thinking it's going to go to $20, $30 over the next few years, assuming, we can get over this tariff hump, and assuming, we still have a Canadian-US trade relationship. And, if everything goes well for ADF Group, I think, we're looking at a $25 stock. I couldn't imagine if there was an offer tomorrow for $11 a share. I think people would freak out, right? But somebody's got to be looking at it. Apparently, they have some military government contracts with NDAs. Yeah, sure. And yep, I hope that's right. I know people that have gone to Current Water Technologies and been toured around their facility, and even those people basically had to sign NDAs and weren't allowed to talk about it. So hopefully that's true. It's just really, really tough as an investor to just say, trust me, bro, right? As a company, when is your growth going to happen? Can't tell you. Well, how much growth is it going to be? Can't tell you. When is the contract going to actually get signed? Can't tell you. Like, there's only so much trust me, bro, that I could accept from a company before you just kind of, again, when you have a strategy, like when I was interested in Current Water Technologies, you know what they made? Was it 2022 or 2023? They made my best 5 stocks video. The same as I'm giving that leeway to North Star Roof V, where I'm saying I'm giving them 12 months. Let's see if they can execute or not. That was basically what I did with Current Water Technologies. I was bullish with them at 4 or 5 cents. Let's give them 12 months. They're telling us this. They're telling us that. Let's give them 12 months. In 12 months, they did nothing. So I basically, okay, I'm done covering them. I absolutely hope they do fantastic, but there's only so much I can do with no news and a trust me, bro investment strategy. So Hodl, Soul, no, never heard of them. Sorry. I mean, listen, if the company's ticker is Hodl, I would suggest that that's one step above a meme coin, is it not? I mean, if I'm a legitimate, solid company who plans on having good financial fundamentals and attracting good quality long-term shareholders, I'm not sure that I would, have a ticker HODL. I used to joke around during kind of COVID that I was going to have create my own company on the public markets, pump it up. My ticker name was going to be Hope, because that was what everybody was investing on during COVID was hope. Companies didn't have good financial fundamentals. Companies were burning cash left, right, and center, diluting shareholders like crazy, and people were investing in hope. So that was kind of my ticker invention back in the day, but HODL would be a close second for me, right? Have you been getting crap for it? I quite like the company myself. Which company? Don't know which one that is anymore. I've been talking about too many, sorry. An hour into this thing. That's it for questions. Last chance. Roof. Yeah. No, I'm getting, look, I'm a channel that doesn't really invest in pre-revenue companies. I typically recommend, again, COVID, everybody was investing in the story and not the numbers. And that's what a pre-revenue stock is. There's almost nothing that bugs me more. Well, now meme coins bug me more. Thanks, meme coins. But there's nothing that bugged me more than a company with a huge market cap and nothing supporting it, no financial fundamentals. And I saw that. I know not everybody here was following my channel years ago. Meta Materials was my company. It was the shit coat. It was the company that I continuously attacked. Said I was attacked. I tried to warn new investors about. Meta Materials was a Canadian company that uplisted to the NASDAQ. They had a $1 billion market cap and no revenue. None. Like because they had no revenue, they actually went out and bought a company with some revenue so they could actually show that they had some revenue. $1 billion market cap, nothing. And it became a meme stock. People fell in love with it. People attacked me. People doxed me. People shit on me, called me an idiot, didn't know what I was doing. It went from $1 billion market cap down to gone. I don't even know if it's still listed, right? So Meta Materials was kind of my claim to fame, where I would prove that, be very, very, like, investing in pre-revenue stocks is a lottery ticket, and most of them lose. And when you get that odd winner, you're not really winning as much as you would think. No news on NewPath that I know about. I haven't seen anything. Wasn't there some kind of RSU announcement today where they handed out restricted share units? I could be getting the company wrong. Mostly it's just getting the NewPath Health, like the company, good solid company, boring company. It's getting more attention ever since I made my video. The Small Cap Discoveries talks about it. Wolf of Oakville talks about it, and rightfully so. It's a good, solid little company. So I haven't heard any news from them, no. Total of S in Sol. So that's what, Solana, up 5,000% in the past year. Well, that's everybody's hodling, right? Thank you. I appreciate your thoughts on water. Have you heard of Gear Energy? Nope, never heard of Gear. Well, I think so. Rings a bell. I think I looked it up once, but I can't say that I remember what it looked like. What does Gear Energy do? Always fun looking up new stocks. You really have to enjoy this if you're going to do it all the time, right? And practice just over and over looking at different stocks. Yeah, exploration production company engages in the acquiring, developing, and holding of interest in petroleum. So I haven't been chasing any on this channel junior oil companies or junior miners. Look, that industry has been dead in Canada. Liberals killed it. 10 years of Trudeau killed that. You know, I know groups of friends. I used to be in mining stock groups. We'd sit around and talk about all these mining stocks. None of them made any money for the past 10 years. The odd one would get a pump and then it'd dump again. Some of the guys made some money in some Brazilian miners, some energy in the US and places like that. But other than the COVID pump, there hasn't been a lot of junior oil producers that I've seen make a lot of money either, predictably. So I've been staying away from that. Will that change? Are we hitting an inflection point? You know, if we get a conservative government in Canada in the future that deregulates as they promise they're going to do and makes it easier to move forward with permits for mines and get financing for mines and oil and gas exploration, drill baby drill, the same as the United States, will this channel change a little bit and I'll head in over to that space for a while? Absolutely. Can't wait to do it. But I haven't been looking at them for the past 2 or 3 years. I used to be bullish on some of these junior oil stocks and they did nothing but lose me money. So, I mean, they made me money up until about, 2022 and then down they went. So yeah, fair enough. Incredibly risky for the pre-revenue stocks. And it's just not the payday that you think it is. Like Aduro, I know Aduro is the big company that people are excited about. It's going to clean up the world and all this plastic and stuff. You look at a company like Aduro Clean Technologies, makes no revenue. It's already got a market cap of, what is it? Close to $300 million, something like that. Once they do start producing, how much are they going to have to produce revenue, net income, EBITDA, before they actually earn the market cap that they're already at? So when I look at a pre-revenue stock and it's got a market cap of 300 million, all I see is if I invest in that company and something doesn't happen, their science doesn't work, which there's a high possibility of that, it's going to zero, right? It's going to zero. A lot of these other microcap stocks, it's always a risk versus reward balance, right? And if you're going to invest in a pre-revenue, you really need to consider stop losses, and they don't always work, because if something happens, those things can just absolutely crash in one day. But I mean, for me, I just look at the risk profile. Some of those pre-revenues, they can go to zero in a hurry, and I just have no interest in them. So Trump going to tax Canada and Mexico. Well, he's saying it again. Yeah, he's saying it again. So we'll see. Look, smart. I'd do the same damn thing, wouldn't you? Right? Why not? He caused absolute chaos. He's got Canada just in shambles right now. He's got the current government afraid. He's got Alberta capitulating, which they should, to say, look, we're going to keep sending you the oil. Basically, it's like in an MMA match. It's round one, and you're just testing out your opponent. That's what Trump is doing. And basically, a lot of political leaders in Canada have already hit the canvas and turtled at this point, right? So, he's kind of assessing his opponent. It's not looking very good right now. So I don't know why he wouldn't continue threatening tariffs to get what he wants. Why not? Until Canada's in a position to do something about it, you might as well keep doing it, right? I got in early, so on my ahead. Good. All right, I'm an hour in. I appreciate your time, appreciate the support. As always, thanks for watching Common Sense Investing. Please don't forget, go check this out, just if nothing else, to give me a view and start getting Google to notice this website a little bit. It takes sometimes 6 months for Google to register the couple hundred people that might go visit this thing here. And as always, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming out, watching another live stream with Common Sense Investing. And I chose that name right, didn't I? Because those words are out there a lot right now. People talking about common sense. I got that one absolutely probably by accident, because I chose this channel name probably 3 or 4 years ago. So I was common sense before common sense was cool. But we'll see where it goes. I don't know how many public live streams I'm going to be doing this year. I typically have them Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when I like to have them, if I have them. I have been moving more and more to my live streams to the Patreon Discord. I only have so much time, right? I'm just running out of time. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon. And hopefully we'll see you before tariffs. Talk to you.